Broker IPTV.
Today we're talking with Mark Eibner from Meridian Title and Escrow, and Mark's one of the principals of the company. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dan.
Glad to have you here.
You bet.
You know, as a realtor, when we're talking about title, you know, I have to admit, I'm thinking, okay, title insurance rates, could they vary that much? But I guess they do.
Oh, absolutely. I think the rates that are posted up, I think the real issue is that most agents, most consumers really don't have the time or even the expertise to go online up to the Department of Insurance, check out all the posted rates, look at all the posted fees. You'll find if you do that all X amount of counties in the state of Colorado have different rates from county to county. It's just not this 7 county area here. So there's a huge variable in the published rates that are up in the Department of Insurance site.
Now, in the past, the rates used to vary widely, but now they're getting much tighter and more competitive. Why?
I think things are just getting tighter simply because of sites like, say, mytitleins.com. It's a site that's been out for a couple years now, and it's really putting a little transparency out there for the consumers and actually for the real estate brokers. And I think real estate brokers are actually becoming a little more in tune with actually looking out for their clients, being an advocate for their client versus perhaps in the past being an advocate for the guy that gave them free brochures.
Yeah. Let me see if I understand this right, in that there is an agency that governs the rates, and then an independent title company takes that rate, and then they can add a little fees and things like that, and that's what comes up with the disparity in rates? There
is no agency in our state here. There's no one that regulates rates. In fact, an underwriter, a national underwriter, could publish for any county any rate they wish.
Okay.
And that goes for escrow fees too. Anything would go up there effectively when a company files new rates. There's a 30-day period where the consumer could object or question. I'd like to see how many times in the last 20 years that any consumer has ever been online and looked at the published rates of a national underwriter and complained to the Department of Insurance. It just doesn't happen.
So the difference comes in the fees?
Correct, the fees. See, in states like Texas, where they have promulgated rates,
yeah,
that is a state where all the rates are regulated by the state. So once a year, they get together, they look at losses, claims, underwriting fees, everything. The state decides for X amount of thousand, this is what every title insurer is going to charge, period. In our state, it's not the case. It's kind of free and wide open, and rates can vary, in fact, be refiled even on a monthly basis if that's what you wish to do.
All right, and in the past, it was always thought that the seller picked the title company and that the buyer, poor buyer, didn't have a decision in the process. But as a realtor representing a buyer, you could actually advocate on behalf of your client and write into the contract, okay, we're going to offer X, Y, and Z, but we'd like to pick the title company.
Yeah, absolutely. If you actually read the contract now, it states that the buyer has a right to choose the title, because we've got two sides to the policy. We've got kind of the seller side and the buyer side for what they're paying if they're getting a mortgage. The problem is when the buyer goes and maybe makes a choice of title insurance with another carrier than the listing agent's underwriter that they're using, is you're not going to get the benefit of the simultaneous issue of the rates. So it's going to, in that case, actually end up costing the buyer more. That's what, in real life, that's perhaps what the Real Estate Commission ignores is, yeah, the seller can buy their title insurance, the buyer can buy their title insurance, but in general, the buyer's going to end up paying more money because he's not getting that simultaneous issue rate as the seller has.
All right, last question. Why do business with Meridian Title and Escrow?
Well, I think Meridian Title and Escrow it's a newer model, ABAs. You'd be surprised. They've been around for what, 17, 20 years now, and in a lot of states, very prominent because the model itself leads to transparency. In other words, more than likely the broker that you're dealing with is an owner. More than likely, perhaps even the mortgage broker you're dealing with is an owner. They have the transparency and really the ability to choose, in our case with Meridian Title and Escrow, three different underwriters. So instead of being married to one particular underwriter that has a limited reissue rate, okay, you can go and make your selection on each transaction, and if you need to have an underwriter that has a 10-year reissue rate, then you go with your underwriter that has, that's typically what we do. We go with the underwriter that offers the lowest rate to the consumer on that particular transaction.
And saves you money.
Saves you bet, saves your seller money, saves the buyer money. I highly recommend using the site mytitleins.com. It actually will give a side-by-side good faith title estimate for the buyer and for the seller. You'd actually be shocked at how many times buyers are paying as much, if not more, than the seller in a transaction.
Mark, thanks. Good information.
You bet. Thank you,
Appreciate
Dan.
Find more real estate videos at brokeriptv.com.